Hi everyone, we'll be starting the presentation in just about 1 minute, so please make sure your settle and your audio is working, and we're looking forward to diving in shortly. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be with you in just 1 minute.
Perfect, user. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our DNA webinar. With Quadient, we're going to talk about healthy AP workflow. I'm Jerry Durant from the DNA sales team, and joining me today is Cole Isaacton from Quadient, who will be presenting. So without further delay, take it away, Cole.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction, Jerry, and thank you everyone for joining today. So let me start by stating what's probably obvious to you. Our profession is at a tipping point. So, kind of jumping into it, the 2024 Finance and Accounting Talent Market Outlook reported that 83% of senior leaders admit to accounting talent shortages, which is up from an already abysmal 70% in 2022. So that's due to a large part to a few facts. So an astounding 75% of CPAs reached retirement age in 2020. That was close to 5 years ago now. So piggybacking off that, enrollment in accounting programs has also declined, with 33% fewer first-time candidates sitting for the CPA exam in 2021 than in 2016. So we're seeing a bit of a decrease there. As the CFO website points out, that means existing staff are experiencing increased burnout and decreased job satisfaction as they shoulder heavier workloads and longer hours. That's not healthy. So, just to throw out a few data points on the previous slide, and whether you were already aware of them or not, there is a significant impact on the current workflow. And I think I skipped over some things. Oh no, we're good. So, we're gonna run a quick poll. Just tell me what you're thinking about, what was previously stated there in regards to, the burnouts, the decrease in current employee retention, things like that. So we've got a quick poll running now. So if you have a moment, just please select, A, B, or C, kind of where your thoughts and feelings are, and then we'll continue on. Awesome. So thank you for a few of the responses there. It's nice to see it's kind of spread out across the board. So looking at automation, as a whole, there's a lack of automation, which is preventing you from creating a healthy AP workflow, which really makes it a threat to your ability to support the business. So because unhappy employees who have options are going to find something better, something more to their liking, and we already established that we're in the midst of a massive accounting resource shortage. So let's kind of roll up our sleeves and look at the tasks and relations that need to be addressed prior to making our way towards a happy and healthy AP. So if we look at things like physical invoices, receipts, and purchase orders literally run the business and have to go somewhere, it makes sense that it's in the office. You can be sure that someone will be required to present to cut and deposit, paper-based checks. Approvals are complex, and when the approvers are down the hall, but different time zones, working hours mean further complications and more, protracted timelines. Finally, visibility into data and financial information across decentralized workflow or workforces requires technology, and there's no way around that. So, we need to have systems in place to be able to, make sure that we're, moving forward in the right direction with AP. So now let's align those tasks with the actual accounts payable workflow. So your AP workflow starts with creating a PO, the formal request to a supplier for goods or services, then goes to delivery of goods and services and accumulates the transaction reviews and audit support. That's certainly a lot on the face of it, but I didn't even call out all of the individual milestones, including, business critical three-way matching. That's where you verify the purchase order, the delivery receipts, an invoice to ensure that all the correspond that you're paying what you've received. Each milestone within the end-to-end workflow represents its own set of challenges. Sorry, Jerry, I think you got some ringing in the background there. I'm hearing on my side.
Yeah, it's on my side. I'm gonna mute.
Okay. Awesome. So Each milestone within the end-to-end of the workflow represents its own set of challenges, plus an opportunity to optimize, for best practice. But you need to fully understand your way of working before you can improve. So we need to know what we're doing now and where are the areas where we're falling short, so that we know what to improve on and what's available to us on the market. So let's dig in, deconstruct your process, create a pathway to the end-to-end automation that supports the ultimate goal of remote work. So now, Jerry, I'd like to kind of bring you in to the conversation here. We're going to just walk through these steps and discuss the differences between a basic AP process and how you can move to a more advanced workflow with added processes and technology. So, Jerry, do you mind? Can you start us off with, the creation of a PO?
Thanks for the overview, Cole, and I apologize for the ringing in the background. I can't seem to mute that. Apologies.
If it's easier, Jerry, I can run through your side as well if that's easy.
It should stop right now. There we go. So
there we go.
Thanks for the overview, Cole. And as I said, apologies for the ringing phone. My goodness. So let's start at the beginning of the AP workflow and creating purchase orders. This is crucial, as a well-executed, high-quality PO sets the tone for the entire AP process. It's your formal commitment to a supplier, and it lays down the terms right from the beginning. I'm going to mute, Cole, so you can.
No worries. I'll pick it up from there. So, where do companies typically stumble with the PO creation? One word, it's the details, or the lack of thereof, whether it's incorrect item descriptions, omitted tax info, or vague terms and conditions. These minor errors can snowball further down the line. So here are your basic requirements, which are, what you must do. As a minimum, ensure your POs are complete, they're accurate, and approved by the relevant authority within your organization. This is a non-negotiable. So now when we take this to the advanced approval workflow, here's how you can take it to the next step. To go the extra mile, consider things like setting up automated approval workflows and integrating your PO system with your inventory and accounting software. Trust me, this part is a game changer in itself. We'll keep coming back to the benefits of automation, as automation addresses key challenges like speed, accuracy, and risk. But understand this, by automating, you're not just making the process faster, you're also minimizing the chance of human error. Plus, automation makes it easier to adapt to changing supplier terms, seasonal demands, and even global disruptions, things we're all familiar with. The best practice here is to centralize and track all your purchase-related paperwork, because the last thing you want is to have to sift through a mountain of emails to find that one critical document. We've all been there. Another advanced approach is to perform gap analysis of your purchase orders. You can evaluate the quality of your POs, the current versus the desired state, factoring in accuracy and completeness, consistency with suppliers' quotation, and compliance with the relevant laws. This will help prioritize the actions needed to close the gaps. Whether you're nailing the basics or aiming for the advanced, remember that a solid PO process is your foundation for a smooth AP workflow. A high quality PO helps avoid misunderstandings, disputes, delays, and penalties with your suppliers. Sounds like we got you back there, Jerry.
You got me back. Hopefully we
Awesome.
solved the phone problem. So the next topic, matching POs with delivery receipts. That is what happens, or what should happen, when the goods and services have been delivered along with their appropriate receipts and invoices. Think of this stage, it's kind of like a midterm exam where all of your preparation at the POS stage meets reality. Common problems here can include order discrepancies or documentation errors. These are sort of like trick questions in an exam, and in the future, they can seriously interrupt your workflow. Basics here are that you need to ensure that those items or services received align with your original PO and the delivery receipt. Matching is critical to smooth sailing later on in the workflow. Over to you, Cole.
Awesome. So now for advanced talk. So go to the top of the class if you're already implementing a real-time tracking and reconciliation of systems. These give you metrics on supplier performance and help to identify potential bottlenecks in your process. Advanced analytic tools can help you monitor lead times and supplier reliability and take proactive and preventative measures where specific issues are flagged. And as with PO creation, automation eliminates manual errors and streamlines verification. So you can instantly reconcile received goods against your POs and keep records up to date 24/7, making your operation more efficient. Automation increases your vigilance and attention to detail, setting you up for success in the later stages of the AP workflow. Now jump into our next topic.
Alrighty, scan and digitize those invoices. So now we have a date with data. Manual data entry is the old school equivalent of chalk and blackboard, prone to errors, time consuming, and to be honest, a little bit dull. Fortunately, a bunch of technology is now eliminating the manual data entry for AP paperwork, such as purchase orders and invoices. The basics are important. At a minimum, you should be scanning those invoices and storing them digitally. It's a foundational step, but it's a step that sets you up for more advanced improvements down the line. Incorporating OCR, or optical character recognition, can transform this AP stage, because after you quickly and effortlessly capture data, you can then interact with it, edit it, and integrate it into other systems.
Now for the advanced. If you're aiming higher, automated systems offer advanced features like real-time analytics and fraud detection. These capabilities enable more efficient, secure operations and richer insights into your AP process. The advantages are reduced human error, enhanced security, and a significant time savings. By automating, you're also setting yourself up for long-term gains that go beyond mere data entry, like future-proofing the finance function and helping the business to stay competitive and operate efficiently.
Secure searchable storage. Before we continue, we need to have a quick word about three-way matching, since it's an indicator of the overall health and accuracy of your AP workflow. It creates a strong verification link at the very heart of your process. For any that aren't quite clear on this, matching compares the three elements of purchase order, delivery receipt, and invoice. So it validates that you have received what you ordered at the agreed upon terms and price before you make a payment. It's essential for maintaining the financial integrity and security of your organization. The process isn't always easy. Challenges can arise from data inconsistencies, delays, and/or a lack of real-time visibility into the matching process. Manual methods can sometimes fall short. That's where three-way matching can strike a balance between simplicity and diligence. While two-way matching can be easier, it lacks a comprehensive verification process, and so that can introduce risk. Implementing a solid three-way matching system can positively impact your bottom line by preventing overpayments or even duplicate payments. It also can build trust with your vendors, and it simplifies the auditing process for your teammates. At its core, three-way matching system requires meticulous record keeping. So for basics, always ensure that your POs, delivery receipts, and invoices are stored in a secure and searchable way.
Great insight there. So now to take that to the next step in more advanced three-way matching. If you're looking to further optimize your three-way matching, consider only automated solutions that include this capability. Some software and platforms offer it in addition to real-time visibility, instant error detection, and seamless integration, your Sage or other ERPs within your ERP or Sage solution.
So multi-tiered approvals can sound kind of scary, but it's really not. When it comes to the payment approval stage of AP workflow, the saying trust but verify has to be your guiding principle. When as much as 20% of your time in the AP cycle can go into managing approvals, implementing checks and balances is critical for fraud prevention and overall cost control. Legacy approval processes simply will not fly if you're embracing remote work sites. For the basics, you really must set up a multi-tiered approval process for different payment thresholds. Keep a record of each payment and approval within your accounting software and implement two-factor authentication wherever possible. You should also use digital signatures, especially for remote approval processes, as an additional layer of security.
Now for an advanced take on that same multi-tiered approval. So education is prevention. So it's important that your team's knowledge is current. That means staying up to date with the latest types of AP fraud. But aging, going the extra mile involves technology. For payment approvals, that could mean automating the reconciliation process because AI algorithms can be trained to flag anomalies and alert you to suspicious activities in real time.
Boy, oh boy, go paper free. Isn't that what we all want to do? Payment authorization is more than a check the box exercise. It's the sharp end of cash flow management. Without standardized protocols or a centralized process, this stage can quickly become a time suck. Even worse, the complexities of cross-border regulations mean that you could risk non-compliant payments or become a target for cybercrime. Here are the basics. It's time to it's time to sunset paper-based checks. Now, I know that many of our customers have already moved to EFT process, and that's a great first step. Moving to electronic payments like EFT or ACH not only accelerate your process, but it adds a layer of security that paper checks just can't deliver. You should also set up a single payment gateway, if at all possible, in order to handle all types of payments and make it easier to track and authorize transactions.
Awesome. Yeah, big one. Get away from paper where we can. This is the most important thing. So the big thing here is get a dashboard. You want a single pane of glass that offers real-time visibility across your approval workflow. This is based on some preset rules. You can also allow manual overrides to maintain control and momentum in the AP workflow. And finally, with analytics, it's easy to optimize your payment timings to even out your cash flow and positively impact your bottom line. Really, where can we hold on to cash for as long as possible?
So, a single gatekeeper for reviews, what's that all about? So, some might be thinking that now that the payment's been authorized, my work here is done, but not so fast. AP workflow is never guaranteed to be 100% perfect, which is why transaction reviews exist. They're the last line of defense in your AP workflow, ensuring that payments are accurate, authorized, and compliant. This stage, can be done manually or through automated systems, but it's not without challenges around accuracy, scalability, and auditability, particularly if you have high transaction volumes. Manually validating multiple transactions can be a Herculean task that will consume a lot of time and resource. Add with the need for airtight audit trails, you can see why it's tempting for businesses to skip this stage if they think they don't have enough time. Here is some basic advice. Always make sure that someone on your team has the exclusive responsibility for reviews. This clarity of purpose is key. Otherwise, reviews can easily be overlooked or postponed. There are basic automation tools that can monitor transactions and flag inconsistencies. But whatever approach you choose, a checklist that covers compliance, approvals, and payment amounts will ensure that every transaction passes an essential mini audit before it goes through.
Perfect. So now here's our advanced advice. Invest in technologies with real-time monitoring and intelligent anomaly detection. These capabilities can learn your typical transaction patterns and flag outliers, making the review process both more accurate and more efficient. They also provide comprehensive audit trails, which simplify the audit process and enhance accountability. By emphasizing the value of transaction reviews and adopting a mix of manual oversight and automated tools, you're not just fulfilling a function, you're turning it into a strategic asset. Because this approach allows you to identify and rectify problems quickly, making your AP process more resilient and responsive. So I want to do a bit of shameless plugging, and thanks, Jerry, for your insight there on both the basic and the advanced side of things. So, we talked a lot about, what you need to effectively automate your AP and embrace a healthy, AP lifestyle. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that, we at Quadient AP can help because our software provides an end-to-end automation streamlining your entire AP workflow. So let's look at some of the best features in our 4 modules. So the invoice process automation, so instant visibility to your incoming bills and monthly accruals. So it can easily search by vendor and GL code and literally anything else on an invoice. Purchase order automation, so customized limits for better spending control, integrated purchase requisitions, expense management, so robust and customizable approval channels, real-time receipt analytics. Want to accurate one-to-one reconciliation from your accounting system to your bank account. So instant batch payments from the payment side of things. And last but not least, you can customize your approval channels for all your AP tasks and activities. So reflecting the way you need to do business. And maybe I could have led with that in regards to the customization. Everything in regards to our modules is fully customizable to your specific workflow. Really want to tailor the system to be specific to what's important to you. So let's look how one company got, and what they did to really go fully remote for the accounts payable during COVID. So until 2019, DreamPack was running AP exclusively on paper, and it had become, an administrative nightmare for the beverage manufacturer. This resulted in several payments being, received by vendors after the due dates, and oftentimes not being received at all. We all hear about what's going on in the world with, checks being stolen or cut and washed, things like that, which further complicates, by a complete lack of traceability through irregular U.S. mail channels. So, moreover, the manual approach to AP was creating a lot of extra work, including 300 invoices to process a month, plus endless expense receipts, physically mailing and signing checks, and siloed workflows. So before, the team was storing all documents inside files and cabinets, but as they transitioned towards a cloud-based accounting module, Gamic curated approval channels with Quadient that guaranteed security and speed, something most finance teams struggled with during remote work. Plus, by moving to automated AP for POs, invoices, payments, and expenses, DreamPack was able to, receive invoices online, pay vendors through ACH, customize approvals for the speed and security, scale up seamlessly with unlimited users, and the big one here is eliminating paper. So now that you've kind of got a good understanding of, what Quadient AP has to offer in regards to the automation space, and we looked at a customer story and how it was able to impact them, why don't I jump into a live demo so that way we can see the system firsthand and see what we have to offer. So this is the Quadient AP automation or Sage AP automation platform. I'll give you guys a quick, user interface layout so that way you have an idea of how the screen is, structured. So on the far left is where we have the 4 key modules that we offer. So we offer expenses, purchase orders, invoices, and payments. The top of the screen represent the flow of the invoice. So it's always going from left to right through these tabs. Big chunk of the screen is the work queue. This is where all your active pending invoices are going to sit. And then just above that is organizational. So if we have multiple entities, maybe we have a whole bunch of different, Sage logins or maybe another ERP and we have to log in separately, we can consolidate all those ERPs into one screen. We can filter between which ones we want to view, if we want to view multiple at the same time, etc. It makes life a little easier there. We can then look at, the status of an invoice, where it's currently at in the process. Is it new? Is it in progress? Is it pending an approval? Has it been approved? Things like that. And the big one, this org unit here, this is where we replicate your organizational structure. We want to make sure that as invoices come in, they're getting tied to the appropriate department, the appropriate location, things like that. So we always have visibility into where our invoices are at within the process. So for example, if I was a part of the marketing team and I was to log into the system, I only want to see what's important to me. And as I do, I would just be able to filter the screen and see the invoices related to marketing. So again, makes life easy. Another key feature, which is I always like to note here, is that we don't charge based on users. So you guys can have as many of those as you like, and then within each of those logins, we can set different layers of authority. So who has access to what information, etc. So a big thing like we touched on today is the purchase order side of things and the three-way matching. When we have that PO creation, we have that inventory and we get that invoice, how is it coming together? So if we were to just quickly show the purchase order side of things, we have the ability within Quadient to facilitate creating a purchase order. But ultimately, if we are looking at three-way matching, we need to be able to pull from inventory as well. So how we do that is we're going to pull in your confirmed purchase orders as well as your inventory, and how that comes in is through this committed tab. So this is if we're creating it within our Sage, if we're creating it within our ERP or maybe another software, we can pull it directly into the system. This just shows an open list of purchase orders. Again, this is a lot of information on this screen. What's nice is we have visibility into our POs. So if we're operating with an open purchase order module, we can see, what the total of the PO was, what's been drawn off of that purchase order, how much do we have remaining? And if I'm ever curious, where's that 1,800 coming from, perhaps for this example at the bottom, I can click this viewed link transaction and see the invoices that have come in and pulled off of that purchase order. We always have visibility into where we're at within the process. We always have a quick view option. Again, if we're pulling in inventory, it gets represented here, this little truck icon. So now we can see, what information has been pulled in. For this example, ordered 5 of, looks like desk assemblies, $850 per, and then it gives us the nice total there. So again, all the information consolidated nicely. From here, we can close out the POs as needed as they come in. If we have an overdraw, it gets put into a negative, we can have this go through an additional approval workflow. That's the purchase order side, but we'll show you the bread and butter of the software, which is the invoices as well. So whether you receive your invoices via email or hard copy still, ideally we want to get your vendors to move to the email format if possible. Because how we get the invoices into our system is just through an auto forwarding rule to your email. So anything coming in is going to automatically populate into this in progress tab. We don't have to worry about dragging and dropping, anything like that. Now, if we do get the odd hard copy here and there, put it through the scanner, send it to that same email. Otherwise, I can come to this inbox tab and I can just drag and drop that file here and bring it into the system. So I did that for us just based on time, just prior to our mini webinar here. So to show you the coding and the matching, if I just come to this new tab, it brings our invoices into chronological order for us. So we should see the invoice I put through here, which is today's date, May 14th, 2025. And here's our invoice. So I put for our description DNA webinar to make it a little bit more unique. So all the header information off this invoice, again, because we're using OCR, all this information is getting captured. So the header details on the left-hand side, things like the vendor, the PO number, invoice date, the due date, and that invoice number. All the line item details are also getting captured for us at the bottom. So we're grabbing things like the DNA webinar, standard gadgets, branded hats. Now, because we've seen standard gadgets branded hats before from this vendor, the system knows what GL account to assign it to, so it's done that for us automatically. But DNA webinar is something new. Maybe it's a new product we just ordered. We don't quite know where this is supposed to go. So our accounting team is going to come in, review this invoice, be able to select from a list of GLs, which we're going to mirror from your Sage, or whichever ERP you're in. And then we can maybe select it and call it an investment. And now moving forward, anytime we see DNA webinar, it's going to automatically be pre-filled to this GL account. Again, machine learning and OCR working hand in hand to really optimize your workflow from start to finish. Now the big one here is obviously we picked up that PO number and we want to make sure that everything's being matched. So because we've read that on the system here, the system has pushed the PO over for us. Now we're having that match take place automatically. So we have the PO and our invoice inventories also attached on there as well. If I want to adopt any lines from the purchase order, I can do that. So I just bottom down here and say, we don't have a line on the invoice, but maybe it's on the PO, whatever reason it might be, I can pull that in as well. So we can always refer back to our purchase orders. Again, this is a huge critical piece for a lot of teams, kind of like we mentioned with Jerry and myself in the previous discussion, is really, taking things from a paper-based process, bringing it to a digital format, seeing the benefits there. There's nothing worse than having to scour through an email, finding, stacks of paper to find the PO and match it with the actual invoice. It's just a headache altogether. If we have receiving slips that maybe we want to add to this, maybe we have a physical slip as well. Again, take a picture of it, pull it in. We can have a little add image here. I can just pull in a quick little receipt just to show you. So now we can always have, those receiving slips as a backup document, whatever it might be, we can always add to this. Then, communication is important. We want to keep that flowing as well. Why do it through email or text message or whatever it might be? We can do it all within the system. Leave comments for each other prior to an approval. And then once we have everything incorporated, we then just hit the submit for approval button, and based on countless factors like things like the vendor, org unit, the GL account, the dollar amount, whatever it might be, whether I have a PO or discrepancy, we're going to have it set up to flow directly to the appropriate approver. Now, as an approver, you'll get an email notification just letting you know, like, hey, Jerry, there's some outstanding invoices needing your approval. There'll be a hyperlink in that email, direct you to this page. Otherwise, you can just periodically check in and see what's outstanding. From here, we just come on in, we can review the invoice itself, see how everything was coded. If it looks good, it's really straightforward. We just hit that big old green approve button. Otherwise, if we don't know what it is, we're just gonna hit the reject. Straightforward, right? Forces us to leave a comment. So now when it goes back to accounting, there's always context behind what's going on back and forth. Everything's also tracked in an audit log, which makes life easy. So if there have been changes made to an invoice, things like that, we can always keep each other accountable, see who made the change at what time, etc. And then once everything's been approved, it ends up in this export tab. This is where we're getting all this information pushed back into your ERP, back as if we had manually keyed this all in ourselves. So from here, we can either have this set up to be a scheduled sync at, say, like a 6 p.m., whatever time zone you're in, or we can come in manually, select the ones we want, hit that export button, and all this information flows back over to your Sage account. Lastly, the archive tab. This is, an accountant's dream, essentially, especially for a paper-based process. So, Quadient saves all your data for you. We store it for 7 years, whatever your taxation period is. And by doing so, now that everything's in digital format, it makes life really easy and straightforward to search. So if I want to search something specific like a vendor, for example, I could type in a keyword like Amazon. We all love Amazon. We search that, it'll pull every invoice related to that word, whether it be in the vendor column, the description, maybe it was in a GL, it's gonna pull every invoice related. More specifically, you can search today's date, the invoice we put through, just to show you how specific we can get. So here's our invoice here. Again, I can use the quick view function to view the actual invoice itself. So there's our DNA webinar. So this is just a standard feature. Again, everybody can have access to the system, even if it's just at the archive level, and restrict them, like I said, to their department. So it's very specific to that individual. We can run reports directly out of the software. Again, we can use these filters to filter the screen. So I can look at things like, the departments, but this more dropdown has every filter you could imagine, especially from a CFO's perspective, or maybe a controller who wants to run a monthly report or quarterly review. We can use any one of these filters here to now generate this report. So if I was to just do one quickly here, I could add vendor. You can see it creates a separate dropdown. To now let me select it from our vendor list. So let's just do ABC Furniture. Again, we can narrow this down. We can have this be as specific as you like. And the best part about it, especially from an auditor's perspective, you can export this data at any time. So we can export it as a CSV or a PDF. That way it's always your data. You can always have it saved on your internal servers, whatever it might be. So that is a very quick and very speedy little walkthrough of Quadient AP automation. We also offer payments and expenses. We could spend an hour in here if need be, but due to our webinar restraints, we'll kind of cap it at that. So I will jump back to our webinar here. So if there's any questions, would love to be able to address those now. Please feel free to put them in the chats for either myself or Jerry. We'd be more than happy to address those, whether it be in regards to the conversation or to the mini demo itself. Afterwards as well, if you're interested in scheduling a demonstration, if you liked what you saw, if you found it valuable, there's links available to you here. Just go to quadient.com/AP automation. But I will leave it to the floor for now for just quick questions that may be available. And Jerry, if you have questions as well, feel free to jump on in.
Yep, I'm watching the chat box as well, so. Nothing turning up yet. So as Cole said, if you have questions in the future, feel free to reach out to me. My email address is Jerry with a G, so jerry@da.ca. So that's one quick way to reach us here at DNA.
Yeah,
I
definitely
think
go.
there's 3 there I put in the chat though, sorry guys.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so
Someone was asking those.
I can see them there. So some questions here. So which payment methods are supported? So that's a great question. So in regards to payments, all payment methods are supported. ACH, EFT, virtual credit card, wires, paper check. We utilize, various payment providers to facilitate payment. We're not limited to any one style of payment, so there shouldn't be any issues there. See a couple more here. So what kind of customer support is included? So this is another great question. So we do have a support team which will be able to address any specific needs you have in regards to the technical side of things. You also have a dedicated customer success manager who's going to be, overseeing your account. They're always going to be a direct line of contact as well. And then you know what? You can always utilize the sales team as well. Sales doesn't mind helping out necessarily, when needed. So I mean, you have a big, large, group of people that you can pull from in regards to support, and you're always going to have it to you there. And the last thing I see here is how long does it take to get set up? So this is dependent on your ERP. Typically, our average we say is about 2 to 3 weeks. And when I say 2 to 3 weeks, I'm essentially meaning 3 one-hour meetings. So we look at the first meeting being an integration call, making sure that everything's set up correctly so we can test an invoice flow back and forth. Second meeting is the customization component, really, how you want the software set up, to your specific needs. And the third and final meeting is just training. So we can get you guys up and running sooner than you probably think. It doesn't take too much time to get up and running out of the gate. Awesome. Okay, anything else from your end, Jerry?
No, this is great. I want to thank you, Cole, for a terrific presentation, and I enjoyed working the presentation with you. That was fun. Except for Cole.
Yeah. Nothing like a little adversity going through a live webinar. So.
Yeah, but that's okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We really appreciate your attendance and look forward to working with you on this or any other venture. But most importantly, if you have questions about Sage AP automation, we'll be more than happy to address those for you. So once again, thank you for attending today, and I guess we'll close things off.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Thanks again, Jerry.